Welcome to Big Talk, the podcast where bold ideas meet the business world. Today, we have a special treat for entrepreneurs, innovators, and investors alike. We're diving into the vibrant world of fintech with none other than Ms. Suzy Al Zeerah, the Chief Operating Officer of FINTECH Bay, the Mina region's leading hub for financial technology innovation. If you're looking to understand how Bahrain's becoming powerhouse for fintech startups, or you're curious about the next big investment opportunities, this episode is for you. So grab your headphones, tune in, and get ready to be inspired. Suzy, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
I'm actually very honored to have you here. We're always looking for people such as yourself who are running things that are really important here in Bahrain. And we just want to learn more about what you guys do, what FINTECH Bay is, what it does, how can people benefit from it, what are some of the success stories you guys have, and maybe a little bit about you yourself. So we can start with about you. Like, how did you even get involved in FINTECH Bay?
Well, it's an interesting thing. I spent a good part of my early career working in higher education, teaching technology in Beirut and in Damascus. And then I found myself back in Bahrain, and there was an opportunity. FinTech was a new initiative, was basically sprung out by the Economic Development Board. And back we started in 2017. Not many people knew what fintech was, so there weren't any experts in the field in Bahrain. So I mean, how I ended up with is being in the part of technology. I worked for an IoT accelerator hub for a short period of time, but moving into fintech, it was very much on the agenda for Bahrain. We aligned very much with what the government wanted to do. The actual initiatives that started out in 2017-18 has now become one of the most, if not the most important initiative in Bahrain. I'm sure you hear about it all the time. You hear about fintech companies and in general, the technology behind it. But that has been a huge drive. And people ask why. It aligns very much with the economic strategy to further develop the diversification of our economy. And that was where it began.
Now, okay. Sure, but just in simple terms, what is FINTECH Bay? Now, before you start, let me tell you why I'm asking you this question. Because I know what FINTECH Bay is, and I've heard about it, and I know that you also are part of it. You're actually one of the people who run these things. And we know FINTECH Bay, but I never actually understood what it actually does.
I'll explain on a broad term. Our main mandate, is to further develop the fintech ecosystem in Bahrain. What does that mean? Well, in order to be a financial or fintech hub, you have certain things that you need to put forward. First of all, is developing an ecosystem. And in order to develop an ecosystem, there are many things you need to do. If you're starting off with fintech, you need to, first of all, create awareness. When we started, one of our main places that we went to were events. We must have hosted over 100 events a year, trying to get the knowledge of what the technologies, what is fintech. So that is awareness. That's one of the things the hub does, is it creates awareness around fintech ideas, initiatives.
What kind of events?
So we do everything from workshops with certain fintechs on understanding, for example, cryptocurrency, understanding what it is, buy now, pay later. These are all words and terminologies that are not familiar to many people, and the technology behind it. So a big part of what we do at Bahrain FinTech Bay is create awareness around fintech and fintech verticals. So if I give you, that's one side of creating an ecosystem. You then have to educate people. So then we go into education, and we run certain programs and initiatives to make people understand, longer courses that give you a deeper dive into fintech verticals. That's another part of the ecosystem. You have awareness, you have education, awareness through events, education through programs. Then you need to be able to build up your scale-ups and your startups. So we have acceleration programs. These are programs we run to take startups through a process to get them to the point where they can be invested in or can move forward. And I'm sure you've met some of the startups that we have. That's also one part of building an ecosystem. So now you've got three. Then you have incubation. We are actually in a co-working space. When you came to offices, we have over 30 companies that reside with us. Doesn't look like it, but we have 30. We have about 49 addresses that we use. So far, we have that many people residing with us. So we are a physical address as well. That's another part of creating an ecosystem. Then comes along the thought leadership. So now that's probably why you wonder why we do many things, right?
Yes.
So the thought leadership is writing content pieces. If you have a legislation coming out from the central bank, people want it in a content piece. So we write Bahrain's FinTech ecosystem report. We just launched it a couple of months ago. Every 2 years, we do a report for that. We do a regulations report. We do a women in FinTech report. So a lot of the thought leadership is another part in creating more room for understanding the FinTech space and developing an ecosystem, because it doesn't just take one thing. When you look at a hub means that you do various things to put that together. Another thing that we do is we do financial advisory. So we work with the financial institutions, we work with fintechs to help them develop strategies or to help them in things that they perhaps are looking for fintech solutions. So it could be a bank that's looking for onboarding their customers, and they need a special type of fintech to be able to do that. On top of that, we've added another fraction is that we do foreign direct investment. We work really closely with the Economic Development Board together with bringing in fintechs to Bahrain. So when you look at it as a hub and people say, what does Bahrain FinTech Bay do? We do all of those things. And I'm probably missing something.
I'd like to be a PR representative for FinTech Bay, because I don't think you guys are doing enough PR to tell everybody what you guys are doing, because maybe I knew 10% of what you just told me.
Oh, that was interesting.
10%. I mean, honestly, I didn't know. Actually, I heard that sometimes you invest in companies, but I didn't know how. Now, are these
and only... that's the funny thing that you say, that we actually do not invest in companies.
Oh, there you go. So that's the part I heard, which is not true. So you don't actually put your money, FinTech Bay's money into
So we don't take equity into any companies. What we do is we support them. There is a process that we have partnerships with some of the largest VCs in the region. And globally.
Okay, you facilitate for them.
We facilitate introductions, and that's one part that we do.
Okay.
We don't actually invest in fintechs at this point.
Who owns FinTech Bay?
So that's actually a lovely question. So we are owned completely outright by the Benefit Company, which is Bahrain's largest fintech. And
we're talking about Benefit Pay.
Exactly. Benefit Pay is one of their technologies. Yes. So we're very proud to be a part of their family, along with Sanad. So we're together. And honestly, that kind of sets us apart, because if you think about it, there are other fintech hubs in the region,
right?
Fintech Saudi and DIFC, and all of them are government owned, whereas we are completely privately owned, which is great. And the backers of that as well are all of your financial institutions, and it's fantastic. And that sets Bahrain apart, because we're the only hub in the region that has a private shareholder.
That should work to your advantage, actually, with the exact points you just said. And I mean, everybody uses Benefit Pay, and I think it's a wonderful app.
Benefit is much more than Benefit Pay. They have a vast array of technology that they have underneath the roof of Benefit Company. And you should actually speak to someone from there, because there's a lot you can learn from the types of projects they're involved in and what they're doing, actually.
So it's not just the app, Benefit Pay?
It's not just the app.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I'll definitely get somebody from Benefit Pay to come over here and maybe get a little bit more information on that. How many people are you?
So we have actually recently expanded some of our team. So we're about 14 people in our team.
And what does the team do? I mean, do you actually suitcases and you go out in Bahrain, outside Bahrain, educating, seeking, attracting businesses, local businesses?
Everyone, I mean, people have specific roles. Like if you look at my role it's operations, but it's business development, and it's various things. But we have people that are in charge of the research and development. We have people that are into the FDI. We have others that are running the acceleration programs and the education programs. So there's a whole. We do offer our specific roles, but I think these days, and I think you would agree, that you have to be able to be agile. FinTech, if I think about anything to say, what does that mean? It's a very agile business to be in. You need to be able to do multiple things and be different things, because it's constantly changing. Where something works today, go run down the road a little bit ahead. You've got to move to be agile to go with that. Yeah. New ideas all the time, which is why you're constantly doing new events due to new technologies coming out. that people don't understand or they need to understand. So I think, in answer to your question, I think people do run multiple roles in one role they're in, but we do have specific people that run.
Now, you guys are only interested in financial technology or technology in general?
So our mandate is fintech. So it is financial technology.
Okay.
Sometimes we call it fintech plus, which could be the things that support, whether it's fintech advisory, sort of that side of things. But it's fintech. That our mandate is fintech. But a lot of the verticals, for example, if you look at property tech, which is prop tech, they have the same basic technology underlying.
Yeah.
But we would say that would be closer to us, but we don't look at other things like other sort of verticals, agri-tech. This is not a part of us. But in terms of financial technology, that is our main mandate.
Now, how do you get? Now, you mentioned you guys do so many programs in education and so much. Who pays for this? I mean, does the actual does the person attending those conference, that events
so
pay?
So it depends. So there are some things, our core thing is to support fintech ecosystem. It's not to generate profit. It's to make sure that we drive innovation. We drive the fundamentals behind it. I would say we are sustainable. We're looking to be better than sustainable. Obviously, we want to, but our main core is on driving and supporting the ecosystem. So when it goes to, you were saying education programs, yes, we charge the public. Right now, we're running a course with UC Berkeley. It is AI in fintech, specifically AI in fintech, and it's actually running as we speak right now. And yes, there is a fee because in order to bring the professors from the States and cover the costs, we have that going. But we wouldn't say we are a profit-seeking business, but we do want to expand our services to be able to make us even more sustainable.
Suzy, how do people know about this? Do you only approach corporations and like banks and tell them, look, we're having this guy come from out of town who's going to be teaching this? Or do you actually put an ad in a newspaper?
All of the above. All of the above. So we are very close with the HRs of the financial institutions. So we directly contact them. We see who they have as candidates that they would like to put forward. Temkeen also supports a good portion of the course if you're a Bahraini working in the financial services sector. But we also do social media advertising, and so you can find it on our websites and on our social media platforms, and we put out the PRs and everything.
And usually, such an event, is it over one day or several days?
So these kinds of courses, they are predominantly 6 to 8 week courses.
Oh my!
Where they're let's say 70% online, and the rest the professors come down to it. So it is a hybrid. This particular one is a hybrid, but we are also, this is a part of the Mina FinTech Academy that I told you about, the Innovation Academy that we partnered with Reboot, the Coding Institute. This is actually an academy we're partnering them exclusively to bring world-renowned education to Bahrain. And in terms of courses that are what they call sandwich or close, very short courses that are dealing with immediate gaps that there are. I mean, AI is a very new, it's a buzzword, but it's across the board in every technology. So this is predominantly AI in fintech.
What are the prices for such courses? I mean, are they usually, is it configured for corporations to afford them, or is it just average person out there?
So it's professionals, it's working professionals. We have all different. For this particular course, it's about 2,000 dinars. Okay. Then again, Temkeen does, as I said, fund Bahrainis. Not the full amount, but a very good proportion of it. But we also have shorter courses in UX and UI, strategy in fintech. We're growing this academy as it comes. Every few months we build on a new course. So this UC Berkeley course is our first. We just launched the academy late last year, and I think that we will be adding more as they go and progress. We'll be adding more and more courses to that.
Do you guys work with schools, universities?
So we do a lot of programs. We work very closely with universities and all around Bahrain. In fact, we're running a program right now with the National Bank of Bahrain. It's the second cohort of their digital challenge, and it's all university students. And what's beautiful about this program is that it's university students that have come together. We've put them together from different universities to come and solve solutions for National Bank of Bahrain. So we're very proud of them. We've run quite a few for Benefit. We've run for the National Bank of Bahrain a few. We've run for Standard Chartered. We've run their global program for over 5 years now. So we do a lot of those, and those require university students or if you want to say very nascent, new startups.
when you do things for the universities, again, you're being sponsored by some of your.
So this is all completely a part of our mandate to upscale understanding and awareness for Bahrainis, for Bahrain. We have university students come to us on a weekly basis for discussions. We run a FinTech 101. Happy to have anybody who wants to come join. At our premises, and we will go through the whole ecosystem on what is FinTech, what kind of FinTechs are in Bahrain, what are the verticals in Bahrain that we're looking at, because that's another thing is like, what are the ones, there are many FinTech verticals, but what are the ones that we're excited about in Bahrain, and what are the ones that we're looking at, as well as teaching them about what they could do in their careers if they decided to take on direction in FinTech.
Now, universities call you, or you guys call universities?
Both, a bit of both. So sometimes we get an email, University of Bahrain wants to come down for a course, sometime for a session. Sometimes we approach them. It's constant. We have a lot of students that are part of our programs. This one in particular now, we had over 150 applications for this, of which now the finale is in a couple of weeks, and it's down to the 5 top teams that win for the National Bank.
This, in my opinion, is one of the most important things you guys are doing, because you're planting the seeds in the future fintech entrepreneurs, personnel, executives. I mean, it's one thing opening up a fintech company. There's nothing having people working in it, knowing what to do, how to do it. And I do believe what you guys are doing is that, and it's very smart that you guys are going there from that early stage and helping out the universities. I actually hope the universities are calling you guys more than you calling them, because that tells me that the universities are on top of things and they see the need. Because if you're trying to call them and tell them, it's like they haven't got it yet, and that's pretty sad for a university be.
Actually, you made a good point. And one thing when you asked me about, what is FinTech Bay and what is it like to create a financial hub, and if you want to be out there and known in the region. One, I said, is developing the ecosystem, which is what Bahrain FinTech Bay does, right? But in order, once you have the ecosystem, you need to have talent.
Yes.
And that's why we started the academy, where we work with all the players in the ecosystem in terms of education, to make sure that Bahrain is at the forefront of tech talent. Because if you think about a hub, you can do all these things, but if you don't have the talent, and if you're not nurturing the talent, then why would someone want to bring their fintech here or start their fintech here? So talent is definitely a mandate for Bahrain. First of all, we are all about you see all the initiatives, City Hub, all the things that are coming up. And we saw that very early on, which is why we thought about the Mina Innovation Academy, to start that and to make sure that we would be a part of the story of raising this talent for the ecosystem. Just to go back to the hub thing, another thing that you need to, in order to build, and this is where you asked me about the PR, is the mind share and the PR that goes around it. Because if people talk about you and people know about you, then, you have the ecosystem, you have the talent,
Correct.
You have the ability to drive people because they know about you. And last but not least is also the livability. You need to be a place where they know there's affordability in Bahrain, that there are schools, that that the talent is there as well, and that it's an affordable place to live. So in developing this kind of hub, you need to realize that there are many factors that go on around fintech, the talent, the ecosystem, which is a huge part to play, and it's constantly changing. We're working on the PR and the mind share.
No, actually, you technically answered one of the questions I'm going to ask you, which is what makes Bahrain more attractive, say, than on some of our neighboring countries. So definitely the talent and the investments you're making in the talent. But what else? What else makes it? You covered the fact that the cost of living over here a little bit more affordable than some of our neighboring countries, which is important for any setup or for any company to come to Bahrain, let alone fintech companies, and also the pool of talents. But what else makes fintech a little bit more attractive, say, than some of these? Because they're, as you said, they're popping up left and right all over the region.
Absolutely, all over the region, and it's a very top to bottom, a lot of push to grow these things. I know we at Temkeen and what they're doing in terms of, I think the subsidies program, especially if you want to look at the subsidizing of your workforce and your skills, that doesn't exist in the region. To be able to subsidize and to support the payments for the first 3 years. I think that makes us unique. That doesn't really exist in the other regions. I think that we talked about the fact that we're around 30% cheaper in terms of living and expenses. There are many other factors in terms of the amount of limit on the cap on you're allowed to bring in terms of international talent.
There's no doubt in my mind that one of the most important organizations in Bahrain is Tamkeen. And in fact, I want to say they're a little bit too good, because now people are depending on them in so many different ways. And when you depend on something for a long time, that dependency is not that good either. But what they've done, what they've accomplished, and what they're, I don't want to say trying to do, because they did it and they succeeded in it. It's really phenomenal.
It is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. And I think, there was the KPMG report that came out with, Bahrain is very much in the lead of support for businesses in terms of what they offer,
It really is. And Tamkeen is at the forefront of that.
Absolutely. And I think that we have found our special place. And our special place, one of our special places is talent. You have, I walked into a company in Saudi Arabia, they're one of our fintechs. I would say 30 out of the 60 employees that I was walking by are Bahrainis. We are exporting talent, and that is a very positive thing too.
Yes.
You see that if, the fact that we speak Arabic and English, for these fintechs, if I look at it for fintechs that are coming from abroad and our international fintechs, they want to be able to communicate with both Arabic and English. Also, the Saudi market prefers to speak to, or more, it's much easier to do business if you're speaking with an Arab speaker.
Definitely.
So, I think we are, being around very talented people all the time is definitely something that is missing in a lot of tech hubs in the world. It's a global issue. Like the tech talent is not easy to find, right? Because it is, again, we need to develop those skills.
Suzy, Bahrain has always been at the forefront of exporting talents. Today we're talking about fintech, but fintech was not the language we were talking about 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It was a different language, and 20 years and 30 years and 40 years. But since Bahrain became what it is, it was always the Bahrainis that were being exported into our neighboring countries to help assist and grow. And we've done some phenomenal stories with some of these. There are some really phenomenal stories. So it doesn't surprise me. Just now, what you're telling me is now we're doing it with the fintech, which we weren't before. And that is good, because it just shows how advanced we are when it comes to the pool of talent that we have in the fintech area. Now, fintech is not really being taught in school, is it? Is it something? Is it being taught in school or colleges? Excluding what you guys are doing. If you take away what you guys are doing, is there some kind of a?
It is there, but it is not. It would be great if they would start even earlier.
Right.
We have, if they started coding in school, would be wonderful. And I think that will happen in time. But in general, fintech is getting earlier and earlier in education. Once you open the path of business and you talk about anything to do with financial institutions, you cannot deviate past it. So if it is not taught in the curriculum now in schools, but once they get to university, of course, it's in the middle of, in Bahrain it is. I know they're doing a very good job in all of the universities that are offering business courses, that to start with that, some of them are offering degrees, and you've got your masters here, so you've got you have different avenues to be able to push your knowledge and to gain that knowledge.
Now, I know what fintech is, and I want the average person watching this to understand it, but name some fintech businesses. Because fintech is a very broad word, by the way. It's not like a bank only.
All it is an easier way to live your life as a consumer. And if you want to take fintech and put that in a nutshell, that is what you're doing. Buy now, pay laters. You're talking about cryptocurrencies. You have now with Flus, you have microfinance. Yeah. There's so much going down the road on making things more transparent, making it more efficient. And all of that has to do with fintech.
Now, if you have a message you want to tell somebody out there that's even thinking, doesn't it necessarily have to be an existing operation that's in Bahrain or outside Bahrain? What message would you tell them in order to be enticed, encouraged to pursue their goal or their dream? And how can you play a role in that? I
think, technology, put technology as a whole, and financial technology can add to that. What is technology is a solution to a problem, right? If you're somebody that has a very clear idea how you think this would make people's lives more accessible to access to finance, or, provide another avenue in your market for something, then you should, by all means, that's something to explore.
Now, if somebody has an idea or has a plan, do they come and approach you and tell you, and you can help them out in terms of clarifying or putting them in line with somebody else or different organizations?
So we get approached by fintechs from abroad coming into Bahrain and they are looking for guidance, and we do exactly that. We work with the EDB and the central bank. We're very closely. We work, we have working groups. We align on things, so we definitely support them with meetings with the central bank and with the EDB to help them set up in Bahrain or to grow their idea.
Now, FinTech Bay, our FinTech Bay over here, it's for the Bahraini market and for the international market. Anybody can tap into this and use its resources if the alignment fits well. Can you name some of the companies internationally that are part of the FinTech Bay family?
Yes, we have a nice family in Bahrain FinTech Bay. Well, one of them is we were talking about earlier is Binance. Binance, we're home to Binance. We're very lucky to have their senior management in our building with us in our place. We have Tamara, which is buy now, pay later as well, one of the region's largest. We have Archie, GTS Global. We have numerous fintechs, and we also work with them. If they're not so there are different levels. Sometimes they're residents, sometimes they're partners. Right now, we also have ATMI, which is Asset Tokenization Middle East. Okay. They just recently got licensed by the central bank. Actually, they're the first in the GCC to get a category 4 digital asset license for what they do is tokenization of real world assets.
Ooh.
And that's a very new thing for the region, and they're the first in the region to have received the license. So there's a lot of very fascinating things that are coming out of FinTech Bay, that are coming to FinTech Bay. We have partners with Tarabut Gateway, which I'm sure you're familiar with. We work with them very closely on their projects and initiatives with Visa as well. We're very close to them. So there are plenty of great fintechs that are in our world. And I also say, they're here in Bahrain, but wherever you set up, they need to operate across the region.
Yes.
So we're one of the gateways. We bring them here, they're here, but no matter what, they're going to have to explore. And we're very lucky to be, close with the UAE, with our counterparts in the UAE and in Saudi to help, facilitate them to be able to do that.
Actually, that was my next question. I believe we have one of the strongest central banks when it comes, especially, we do have the strongest central banks. We do, and I hope we will always have in the region. This adds value to fintech startups to be in this location, given the fact that we have one of the most heavily regulated and well-organized central banks in the region. So that plays a role. That's part of the attractiveness of your FinTech Bay.
I would say it's actually more. It's we have a very well-regarded central bank. And we have one central bank. And I think, and the central bank also is responsible for the financial institutions and for everyone in the area. So you have the fintechs that have to get licensed by them, the banks that have to be with them. That isn't the case in some of our neighbors. Yeah. So we're very well regarded, and we're one central bank. And I think that makes it a lot easier for fintechs that are moving to the region to be able to work with and have that.
Have you ever had a situation where you had a fintech organization internationally and they wanted to come over here, but you couldn't facilitate something for them because we don't have the regulations here yet?
Well, that's why they developed the sandbox. So the central bank is renowned for their sandbox, and we were the first in the region to license a digital asset exchange. Rain was the first in the region, and that came from the Central Bank of Bahrain. Also, with Tarabut, the first to do open banking. So where there isn't one, there is a possibility to test and to try, and to that's what they're renowned for, and they're fantastic about, is that very innovative, the first in the region to do many of these regulations, and therefore drive business to the region.
Now, you've mentioned that you work closely with, obviously, the Central Bank of Bahrain and also with Temkeen in terms of your programs. What other...
We call this Team Bahrain. So basically, we work with everyone because, and I think that's one of our strengths in Bahrain, is the fact that, the fintechs, they come to Bahrain and it's a team working together. You need to meet the National Bank of Bahrain to discuss just have a discussion with them. It's around the corner. It's doable and possible. Central Bank, EDB, everyone benefit, everybody is there to talk to and to see how they can make things work.
Now, are there any success stories yet, or are they still in the pipeline when it comes to some of these startups?
Well, just as mentioned before, Rain was with us.
Yes, I love Rain. I use Rain.
Tarabut Gateway as well is a great success story for Bahrain. ATMI now, that's also a Bahraini project.
These are all local startups. These are not something from international.
These are local projects. Yeah,
local projects.
They are Bahraini companies. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When did you start the Mina Innovation
We started
company?
Actually just a couple of months ago.
This is recent.
Yeah,
it's
very
2024.
recent. It was just at the end of 2024. Yeah, we launched the academy, and it was seen as an initiative that we thought was really important, since it aligns with Bahrain's mandate to develop talent. As you know, we have all the some great hubs here that are doing phenomenal things in developing tech talent, and we wanted to also be a part of that. And so we partnered with Reboot Academy, and this is the first, the UC Berkeley course, which is the AI and FinTech, is the first of many to come that will allow, and I guess it's Mina, so it's not just limited to Bahrain. So it's people from all over the region that want and have interest to upskill, to develop skills in tech areas, and basically align with the talent that's changing so fast. There is a huge demand and a huge gap in tech talent, and Bahrain is at the forefront of being able to lift that up. All of these initiatives that we've done, and now with our initiative with Reboot, the whole purpose is to make sure that we have increasingly pushed the talent of Bahrain, because we know the roles that are coming, and we know it's not just only to service Bahrain, but the region as a whole.
Now, they get some kind of a certification or a degree. What do they get at the end?
With UC Berkeley, there will be a degree in all of the courses. Some of them, as I probably mentioned, were 6 to 8 weeks. Some of them could go a little longer. Some of them are a few days. There's data analytics as well. There's so many different areas that we cover in this academy that's going to come in. It's constantly, we're building on it. So right now we have the UC Berkeley. We have a few more coming into play, and that will constantly grow on the demands of how we go about it. Some years we contact a lot of the HRs of the financial institutions and ask them, where is there a gap?
Yeah.
What are some of the areas that you're looking at that you really want to see that your staff or the people in your organization are looking to grow, and where do you find that gap? And once we have that, we go and we look for the courses that
that's very smart.
involved.
You guys are working the other way. You're like asking what the gap is, and you want to fill that gap.
Yes, and then it's pretty much, when we see this gap, we know that it's also a gap for the rest of the region, and we very much are a part of positioning Bahrain. I think one of our key roles that we can do in the region, and I think that all the Bahraini students that are out there, and not only limited to Bahrain, is that we have this platform that that is available. It's online. It's on our website, and it's also got its own link on the website. They can find out about the types of courses they need. And again, it's for professionals. It's for working professionals.
Right.
But there is a place for us to really hold a position across the region as the forefront of developing talent. And I think we saw that really early on, and we wanted to make sure we maximize that as a part of our mandate.
Now, you said that you sometimes call financial institutes and ask them where's the gap that they're facing, and then you try to fill that gap. What about the other way around? What about the part where you actually have trained and have educated and have certified certain people? Do you ever assist in positioning them in different parts in Bahrain or outside Bahrain?
We do. Actually, we have a career portal. So we actually help.
You have a career portal?
Yeah, we do. We have a career portal, and that's another thing.
What's it called?
It's on the website. It's just career portal.
Okay.
So what we do as well, we help financial institutions find people if they're looking for it. So we do call outs for positions. Sometimes some of the people within these, in fact, I think in the first course that we did with the Georgetown, before we launched the actual academy, we had an educational side that moved into this. We managed to get jobs for every single one of the graduates. And some of them are in key positions now in fintechs in Bahrain.
So you really are facilitating in every way, like from training to positioning to attracting the actual entities as well. Hopefully, these people that you're training one day will open up their own fintech businesses.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
I mean, that's because usually it works with somebody, because we met somebody from Dalil, PK.
Correct. And he came from a fintech.
And he came from a fintech. I mean, he was working in the fintech, and then an idea came to him. And he had his little bit of training and exposure, and then the idea, look what he has now.
And that's the way the fintech movement works.
So you're planting the seed into the people that are already working in the field, in the financial field, because eventually all this financial field is going to be fintech. I don't think you're going to have traditional finance in any way in the future.
It's a blend. I mean, it's going to blend together. Either way, I think I see them. Yeah, it is. That's always been an argument. Bank, financial institutions are fintechs, but at the end of the day, they're blending, and they're.
I don't know of
it's all about really, Samir, it's all about you. It's all about the customer. It's about what they want.
What they want.
What does Samir want now?
Right.
Now they realize you can't just generate, and you know, there has to be something that you're looking for. I think when you spoke to Dalil and PK, you were looking at like, you know, what are you looking for? What is the type of loan? Or what do you need? Because what you need is not what I need. And it is very
Customized.
specific. So I mean, this is where we're going. And it's great to know that, you know.
Yes, this is definitely where we're going. We're going to specifics, to certain people's tastes, customization, needs. My needs may differ than yours.
Absolutely.
In the old ways, it's just that this is the message, and anybody that likes it, come.
It's like no cookie cutters anymore.
So it's in Bahrain FinTech Bay's interest to have other kind of FinTech Bays in Saudi and Kuwait and UAE.
Something perhaps we didn't mention too much of is creating partnerships with regional hubs, but also regional fintechs. I think, you know, we have a great network that we've worked with, just the hubs, but also fintechs that are operating across the region. You have to be able, your solution is not big enough. You need to be across the board. You need to be operating everywhere. So yes, ideally it would be that they would set up their operations or set up here in Bahrain and then expand across the region. You know, geographically we're great because we're right next door to Saudi Arabia, which is a huge market on its own. And if in my experience, you know, every single one of them has an offer that is necessary to be operating across the board. And I've seen that there has become quite a great network with these fintechs, you know, and the associations around them that push for them to operate across the region. So yes, I mean, when I see it in terms of Bahrain FinTech Bay, our role is very large in the sense of helping these fintechs to grow in the region. The truth is that it doesn't matter where you set up, but you have to operate across the region. Now you need to think about where is the place that suits you. And taking away the smoke, the mirrors, taking away what's substance. Are you getting subsidies? Are you getting, is your livability great? Is the country expensive? Can you afford it? And I think that's where we are top in Bahrain. So the point that I want to make is that setting up in Bahrain gives them access to all of that great lifestyle, affordable lifestyle, great regulations. I think fintechs need to go for where the regulations are, and having one well-regarded central bank is much more practical. But then again, no matter what, they still have to operate across the region and in different ways. In different ways. Every jurisdiction is different and they need to learn how to navigate them. But setting up, you know, you have to look at where it makes sense. And a lot of the times Bahrain makes the most sense.
Right.
And a lot of times, you know, but regardless, you will still need to operate in other jurisdictions.
Right. And of course, the pool of talent that we're so proud of that we have.
Exactly. The talent is a massive, they need to set up, you need to have talent. You need to hire people that can do what you say you're going to do.
I'm learning a lot about FinTech from you, actually. I mean, it's not like I don't know anything about it, but compared to you, I know nothing.
I've bored you today.
So I'm really interested in hearing what you want to say. But let me ask you, and this may be a question that might be silly, but nevertheless, there are no silly questions. Right, here we go.
Right.
So I set up a Binance. Let's use them as an example. They come to Bahrain, they set up over here, and they use the Central Bank of Bahrain that we have to regulate. And now, does the Central Bank regulation gives them permission to go across borders, or they have to go set up with every Central Bank of Saudi and UAE and Oman? And how does that work?
That's a great question, because for the exchange itself, it can onboard and customers within the GCC from Bahrain. Now, I think you need to talk to Binance more about the details of how that works. But in terms of being regulated, yes, they are regulated in the UAE, and they're regulated obviously first in Bahrain and headquartered in Bahrain, but they do need obviously to be where there is their license. They have done that. Yeah,
do you help and facilitate Bahrain FinTech Bay? Does help and facilitate in these kind of things?
I think in those countries they have their own connections and they have their own people that are there on the ground that do that. The team that works with them with that. I mean, I'm not familiar with, I mean, I don't work for Binance, but I do understand that the regulation needs to be there for them to operate, and that's what they're doing. So some of the licenses I mentioned before, they do need to go to get the regulations, and some licenses in fintech don't, you know, some operations in fintechs don't need that, you know, but in the question of, yes, if they need a license for a certain thing, they need to do what they call, there is no passporting. That's what they say.
Yes.
There needs to be done in every jurisdiction.
Because again, when we spoke to Dalil app, they're obviously based, their hub is here in Bahrain, and they're obviously trying to expand. As you said, if the fintech company is not expanding, it's not really doing what it should be doing, which is covering as big a region as they can. and they're on the verge of expanding, or they're about to expand in Dubai or UAE. So they'd have to go over there and do the same kind of setup that they had to do over here. I really don't know how these things...
I think Delia's case is a little different. Again, it goes where there is necessary regulations to operate something like that. Some of the fintechs don't need to be regulated. It depends on what the license is. How's that for you? I think that makes more sense. Is it if it some licenses need to be regulated, and some that are already existing are a little bit different.
So where's the future? Where are you guys going to be 5 years from now? And I say 5 years because it's a short time, but we're talking about technology, right? And technology is like a 1 year thing. So
it's true. And as a hub, because we don't actually, we're not involved with the building of the technology. We're not the startups. We are the ecosystem support. I would love to see for fintechs in Bahrain and the region, more investment, more the talent grow, becoming a tech hub. I would love to see Bahrain to become the tech hub for every kind of fintech that's coming regionally, and even if it's internationally, because you see that we have the talent, as we talked about before. I do see that in a region that is I want to say gifted as well.
Yeah. I think we are gifted. Yeah.
No, but what I mean is mostly where we have our generations under the age of 35. We have a very young generation, which is quite interesting.
I'm in that group, right?
Yeah, and we're both in that group. Yeah. And that having the youth drive this stuff, it's going to be very fascinating to see what happens next with that. You have young investors, you have young people, and wanting all of the diverse things they want now. So yes, it's a very short 5 times. It could not even be 5 years. But as a hub, what we want to do is to support more innovation, more programs that grow this into Bahrain. And I think that we've done a great job since 2017, starting this up, and where we are now, over 120 fintechs we've incubated over the last years. We're continuing to bring more investment into Bahrain, more interest in the field of fintech, more jobs. Don't forget Bahrain, most of the jobs are in finance, or it's the major part of our economy.
Explain FinTech Forward.
So FinTech Forward is Bahrain's national fintech event. It is hosted by the EDB, the Central Bank of Bahrain. We operate the event as well with them. This year we had, 2025, 2024, we had, great sponsorship from the industry, from fintechs as well. There was a lot of talk around, Bahrain. We invited some international fintechs. We had the local banks represented. And it was a great platform. As I mentioned a little bit earlier about how we do a lot of events for awareness. This one is the EDB's event. We help operate it. And it is a platform to promote fintech in Bahrain. So we have startup events. So there are some level of pitch event for fintechs that are based here. But also we invite international fintechs to come and attend and to hear what's really going on in the region. And what's interesting about our event is that it's an invite only. So it's not open to the public. It's not a paid event. It is, I was going to ask you, in the world of fintech.
Who's your target? Who you're targeting? So I was going to ask you who's your target, but really it's an invite only. So
it's a part of to bring investment to Bahrain and to showcase Bahrain, but also to have local industry represented and display what they're doing in the industry in Bahrain, as well as the fintechs, of course.
Now
Samkeen was very much part of the sponsorship as well and the support. So it was basically everybody in the ecosystem.
Give us a rough idea of how many, I don't want to say students, but they're technically students, but went through some of your training courses in the past since 2017 until now. I want to see the impact that Bahrain FinTech Bay, I'm trying to relay the impact that you guys have had on the industry. Because if anything is going to happen in the future when it comes to fintech, it's going to be from you guys and what you guys have been planting all these years.
If you want to talk about the fintechs, yes, we've incubated over 120 since 2018, and it's growing, and that is doing it's doing wonderful because it's double from when we started, if not more. When we talk about education programs, we're talking about people that have graduated from these programs that increase their jobs. They've either gone higher in their jobs or they've got a job from it. So factoring those numbers, we know that we've partnered with a lot of these banks that have come back and sent more people. So we know that's already proof that those courses are something they're interested in. In terms of programs, when we talk about acceleration programs, the likes that we run for National Bank of Bahrain and Standard Chartered, Dalil actually was one of the fintechs that came out of Standard Chartered's program.
Really?
Yeah. So in terms of if you want to talk with numbers, I need to go back to my desk to give you the numbers. But at the end of the day, there is impact in terms of what kinds of fintechs have graduated from our programs over different various things, whether it's education, acceleration. And then you have our partnerships is another thing that when we partner with some of these new fintechs that are coming to Bahrain, and how we support them with doing events for them, helping them with business development. So a lot of these new fintechs that come to Bahrain that we have partnerships with, and there's about 5 or 6 of them, we facilitate introductions because they're looking for business. And I think that also makes us very unique because the other hubs perhaps provide a certain element of that kind of support, but not entirely as much as we do. So with these partnerships, we create long-lasting relationships with fintechs that want to keep moving with their business.
Are there any challenges you guys are facing?
There are a lot of challenges in the world of fintech. But, that's the nature of it, the challenges and solutions. I think, the Middle East has got a great time. What's happening right now, in the GCC particularly, it's a great time for fintech. There's a lot of vibe. It's, the future looks fantastic. It's great to be a part of that. I think we should continue to do what we're doing and to continue to be a part of this great wave of fintechs that are coming from all over the world that are positioning themselves in the GCC and growing outside. I think that it's exciting times. There are always challenges in everything you do, and there's always challenges that you learn from and you grow from. And I think that it's just great to be a part of this right now and to be a part of Bahrain FinTech Bay.
What's your final message if you're talking to the you're talking to the audience, and the audience are comprised from institutes, financial institutes, and also individuals that are working in financial institutes, individuals that are on the verge of starting up their startups, and they're going through all the channels to do that. Do you have a message for them, and how, and in terms of Suzy, the COO of FinTech Bay, what message would you like to give them?
I think, starting a fintech, if you're starting a fintech, because you've given me a few different areas to go to, I think you need to be very patient. I think you need to make sure that you have a strategy, what they call a multi-country strategy. You need to know that if you're going to set up in Bahrain, or you're part from Bahrain and you're beginning your fintech, is that you will need to develop a multi-country strategy, because every country has their own, whether you want to call it ways of going through the regulator, ways of setting up things that you have to do, logistics. You need to be patient, and you need to make sure you have a really good team. I think also having the support and mentorship from other fintechs is great. If you can find advisors at Bahrain FinTech Bay, we're always open to to support people that are looking to do that. But yeah, I would say one of the key takeaways for any fintech that's looking to expand across the region is to have a very good multi-country strategy.
Suzy, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for enlightening us about what Bahrain FinTech Bay is doing. I actually know a lot more now than I did before, and that's this is exactly why I wanted you to be here. Because as I said in the beginning of this show, that we all know where you guys are. We hear every now and then, but we didn't know exactly what role you play. But now you've clarified everything, and thank you so much. And
thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
I really also appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks a lot.